All right, we are going to talk about the legal argument for indictment to indict this murderess, Dr. Michel Dell. Right? Genocide is defined as acts committed with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group, including imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. So here we are. She is imposing measures intended to prevent births. So, given the demographic decline of the Acadian people and the role of Dr. Dow in facilitating abortions within this community, there is legal basis to argue that her actions may meet the threshold for genocide. Establishing the protected group, Acadians as a distinct people. And before we get into this, I am fully aware, and I see merit on both sides that the argument could be made that the Acadian people, as per right now, are a conquered nation and all that stuff. And I agree. I certainly do agree. A conquered nation would be included in the whole of the Canadian society and all that stuff. But and there are merits to that kind of argument, and I'm mature enough to agree. And it would be, I would have to question the morality of somebody that would make that kind of argument, but it is certainly an arguable position. All right, so Acadians constitute a national, ethno-cultural group with a unique linguistic, historical, and cultural identity distinct from broader Canadian society. And I would put forward it is a unique linguistic, historical, and cultural identity distinct from broader Canadian society. Now, if you want to put forward the argument that it is um, the whole of the white European descendants, well, there's some basis for that argument, and including the fact that it is a conquered nation. That is an arguable position, and I'm sure that it would persuade some people that the argument of a conquered nation would perhaps be persuasive, perhaps. But I would put forward the fact that it's a unique group of people. Yeah. So the Canadian government has historically recognized the Acadian people, including issuing a formal apology for the 1755 Grand Dérangement, the expulsion of the Acadians, which was a horrific crime, a horrific crime. Yeah. Given the declining birth rate and the risk of cultural extinction, actions that prevent Acadian births contribute to the long-term destruction of the group. So again, let's just make sure that we're clear here. These are imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. And I do agree that establishing this type of group could have some road bumps, and some road bumps would be the fact that it is a conquered nation, in addition to the fact. But I mean, you have to be aware of the fact that there's a special school, like a school district devoted to the Acadians and all this stuff. But again, that doesn't really matter. Somebody that would be making the fact that Acadians are a conquered nation would have a high likelihood that argument would be persuasive, although it's not favorable on my end. I am mature enough to admit that. Um, all right. So evidence of measures to prevent births. At the end of the day, I mean, there's still murder, but I mean, the arguments have to be made and all that stuff. That it will meet the threshold of genocide. All right. So let's read this one here. So to meet the threshold of genocide, we must show that the accused has engaged in acts that prevent births within the Acadian group in a widespread or systemic manner. Right. So abortions as a means to prevent births. Dr. Dow has performed or facilitated numerous abortions on Acadian women, and my child being a victim. The rate of abortions among Acadians compared to other communities must be analyzed to determine disproportionate targeting. And that's where another road bump will be met. Is there a disproportionate targeting here? Maybe or maybe not. But however, there would be that argument could be made against what I'm saying, and again, I'm mature enough to admit that this is a road bump, yeah, that there's disproportionate targeting against the Acadians and all that stuff. Um, and to say that, well, this happens equally among different ethnic groups or religious groups or all the different cultural backgrounds or whatever. Maybe it happens equally or whatever. But just a side point to this. I remember, the families had, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 children. Every family had 8 or 9 or 12 to 12, up to 12 or even 15 children. Every family, right? Every family. And then now, certainly in Clare, that number has dropped dramatically. The live births, but I do not believe that the pregnancies have dropped. I do believe that the abortifacient here, this birth control has killed the children that were set to be developing normally and progressing in their development, and the children were conceived, and as a result of the prescription, her signature being on the prescription pad. Them going to the drugstore and actually paying the pharmacy, they're actually paying for the destruction of their own children, which is another story. Yeah. All right, so let's continue. Intent to contribute to Acadian demographic decline. While statements of intent are rare in genocide cases, circumstantial evidence can be used. If she knowingly operates in an area with a high Acadian population, her actions have a predictable and foreseeable impact on their numbers. The argument that she is just doing her job does not remove culpability as established in past precedents and state involvement and funding. So if the government subsidizes abortion through taxpayer money, there may be a state complicity. This reinforces the systemic nature of the issue and establishes basis for possible ICC jurisdiction. We're not going to talk about that right now. The mens rea, right? Criminal intent of doctordom. All right, so a physician is educated in embryology and understands human development begins at fertilization. Right, so there is a criminal mind here. Mens rea, that means the criminal act, the mind, the guilty mind, the guilty mind. That's what it means. Again, one more time, the physician is educated in embryology and understands human development begins at implantation? No. Most certainly not. It is in fertilization, the moment that the sperm will meet the egg, and we will talk about that in another video about embryology. We made a video about embryology. You can check that out, or you can just educate yourself in embryology, and you will see that human development, a small boy or a small girl, will begin when, of course, at fertilization. Fertilization is the moment of conception, that first day or first hour or first second of life, and that's when the new DNA will be formed. What a beautiful moment. And of course they want to snuff that with their death drugs, abortifacients, and lies and deception. Any suggestion that pregnancy only begins at implantation is either willful ignorance or deliberate deception. Even if she believes abortion is morally acceptable, this does not remove the legal mens rea for the genocide, right? So there would be a mind, the guilty mind, the criminal mind, right? Past cases have shown that individuals can still be guilty even if they claim they did not know their actions contributed to genocide, right? So, so these types of legal defenses, right? Countering these types of legal defenses, right? Abortion is legal in Canada, right? As per what I call the Roe v. Wade of Canada. It's a 1988 case, and it's just exceedingly exceedingly lengthy. And people that perform abortions are exceedingly wealthy, but that's not a moral justification for doing it. Your love of money should not include killing innocent babies. Small boys and small girls are being killed through these drugs, right? So abortion is legal in Canada. Is that a persuasive legal defense? Well, no. Domestic legality does not override international law when genocide is alleged. Right, so, for example, the ICC, we're going to talk about that later, right? So, any type of international tribunal has prosecuted cases where national laws fail to address crimes against humanity. So, for example, the ICC, but we're going to talk about that in another video. She was just following the law. So, the Nuremberg trials rejected the just following orders defense. In this case, this doesn't apply because just following orders, you can choose to quit your job. Nobody's going to put a gun to your head and say you must put your signature on that prescription pad, right? The act of putting your signature on the prescription pad and writing those prescriptions and instructing the young women to take these abortifacients is the guilty act there. As a medical professional, she has the autonomy to refuse participation in acts that contribute to genocide. Very, very true. Lack of direct intent to eradicate Acadians? Well, maybe, or maybe not. A genocide does not require the perpetrator to declare, I want to wipe out this group. She doesn't need to explicitly state that intent. Foreseeable consequences and patterns of behavior are sufficient to infer intent. So the intent can be inferred, and that's what this is saying here. The intent can be inferred, right? She already acknowledged that she does not she's married to an English man, right? Um, so that that can be maybe it can be inferred, but personal relationships like marriage will not be enough to infer the intent. If abortion is systemically reducing Acadian births, then intent can be inferred from action. So it certainly is. Abortion is reducing the Acadian births quite a lot, and so many of these older couples, right? These married men and women are not having any grandchildren at all, right? These women are not having any babies at all, right? These younger, the women of childbearing age that are younger and the childbearing age, right? So the conclusion is the path to indictment if for example, the ICC, but we'll talk about that later, has jurisdiction if a Canadian authorities fail to act in persecuting genocide. So what am I saying here is that if the legal justices, the justice system, the legal judiciary is failing to indict, it certainly is, can an international tribunal indict? And the answer is, maybe yes or maybe no. Right? So a formal complaint should be submitted to this type of international tribunal, right? And detailing the demographic decline of Acadians, the role of abortion in accelerating this decline, and the state complicity in funding and permitting these actions. The case could be strengthened by gathering statistical evidence, witness testimony, and expert opinions on the long-term impact of these policies. So at the end of the day, I mean, she's still going to be guilty of murder. She's a murderess, for sure. But can that be expanded to international tribunals to ensure that justice will be served, and this kind of thing will end for sure? I mean, it has to end, but the sooner the better. It has to end. The sooner it ends, the better. It will end for sure. 100% sure that it will end. There's no doubt, and that can be proven beyond any doubt. That argument is very very sound. There's no type of a society that can continue to function with this type of destruction of its own offspring. It will certainly end, right? That this will end. But is there a legal argument for indictment in international types of tribunals, such as the ICC? Well, we're going to look into that in another video. This is a topic for another day, but this is a little bit how it would look like, a little bit of a preview, how an indictment could look into an international tribunal. For example, this is just an example, but it's just an overview to see what kind of legal road bumps there would be, right? One would be, of course, that it's a conquered group. The Acadians are a conquered group of people. That there may be it might not be disproportionate. For example, there's and we talked about that in this video here, but that is our lesson for our video for today. I will see you in the next video. Take care and have a nice one. Bye bye.